Listen to the vibes.
The views and opinions of our guests may not necessarily reflect those of the host or the Vibes Broadcast Network. Listener discretion is advised.
Welcome, everyone, to another episode of Listen to the Vibes, and I'm very privileged to have Mr. Tim Lodgen here with me. He is a mental health and addiction advocate. Okay.
Yes, sir.
Got that. And we're going to just have a good conversation today. This is a subject that is kind of near and dear to me, being an addict for many, many years. I started at age 12 and went on to about my 40s. And I'll tell you, it was not easy. But now that I'm clean and sober, it's a lot easier for me to stay away from it. And I also don't hang around with the old crowd that likes to party, still thinks that they're in high school. You know what I mean?
Yes, sir.
But anyway, Tim, just tell us a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, so born and raised here in Baltimore, Maryland. Lived here my whole entire life. The only time I didn't live here was when I was in the Marine Corps, and then I lived in North Carolina for 2 years, stationed at Camp Lejeune. But I had a normal childhood. My father was a police officer. He ended up retiring for 37 years. Now, my mom, I guess it's not kind of normal, but she was a professional bodybuilder when I grew up in the 80s.
Wow.
And that was something that wasn't too normal in the 80s for women to be bodybuilders. She was one of the first 10, 12 women to ever be featured in magazines. And she won a whole bunch of trophies and she did really good for herself. So I guess that isn't kind of normal. But my father my father and mother got a divorce when I was 7 years old. So I primarily grew up with my mom. And the reason I mention it is because that affected me for a very long time in my life.
Yeah.
As a 7-year-old little boy growing up without a dad and not thinking that he loved me or thinking that I had something to do with the reason they got a divorce. I have a brother who's 11 years older than me. So when my dad left, my brother was almost a senior in high school. And here I am starting first grade. So to me, I was like, what did I do wrong? Did I not listen? Did I not clean my room? Was I not a good boy? And he would call and tell me, I'm coming to get you this weekend, son, pack your bags. And I go pack my bags. And I cannot tell you how many times I would get a phone call an hour later. Hey, something came up. I got to work overtime. I just can't come get you this weekend. I'll make it up to you next weekend. And next weekend would come and same thing. It got to the point where when my mom told me I was going to my dad's to pack my bags, I just wouldn't even pack. Yeah. And she'd be like, what's going on? I'm like, he's not coming. Why would I even waste my time pack? So that really made me think it was my fault and my dad wanted nothing to do with me. Now, my mom did the best she could. She ended up getting 3 jobs at one point, putting herself through college, gotten her master's degree, and ended up becoming very wealthy and became a vice president of this big company. And to keep me occupied, she had me in sports. So I played baseball for 8 years. I was on a football team for 3 years. I actually was almost a professional skateboarder at one point. I was sponsored by a bunch of companies down here in Baltimore. And I grew up with a skateboarder named Brandon Novak, who actually is a member of the Jackass crew from the movies.
Oh, yeah.
And he was best friends with Bam, and he was on Viva La Bam for a couple of years. He actually was very, very bad with heroin and alcohol. He overdosed 13 times, was in treatment centers 23 times, in and out of jail. He now has 7 years clean, and he has 4 rehab houses that he doesn't charge. It's sponsored. He gives scholarships to these guys, and they come in, and it's not a 30 or 60 or 90 day. It's 6 months to a year. And what he does is he helps them become new men. And he makes, shows them that you can love yourself again and to forgive yourself. He gets them jobs. He gets them to meetings. He really does a great job. It's not an in and out 30-day program. He really does set these guys up for a better future. So I grew up with him, and in high school I got into boxing, and I was really good. I got golden gloves, and I fought in junior Olympics, came third place in junior Olympics. And during this time, drugs and alcohol were not on the radar. I just wasn't interested. I was an athlete, and I wanted nothing to do with it. And I didn't grow up with it. My mom didn't have alcohol in the house, and I think I've seen her maybe 5 times drink a beer in her entire life, and she's like 73. So it wasn't rampant. It wasn't around. My freshman year of high school, there was a welcome to high school freshman party, and a buddy of mine had it, and everybody went. That's the first time I ever tried alcohol. We had some seniors get us some alcohol, and it was Pabst Blue Ribbon and Colt 45 malt liquor. And I got so sick. I drank so much, and the next day I was completely sick. My mom picked me up from the kid's house, and she's like, "You drank alcohol last night, didn't you?" I was like, "Yeah." She's like, "Well, I'm not going to punish you because your whole weekend's ruined. You're going to be sick for the next 2 days. But we are having a cookout, and I need these 50 ears of corn shucked. So what you're going to do is you're going to go in the basement. Here's a bag to shuck the ears of corn, and here's a bag for you to throw up in. Here's your punishment." So I had to sit there and shuck 50 ears of corn while I was throwing up in a paper bag. That was my punishment. But that deterred me from drinking again. The next time I drank alcohol was senior year of high school. And senior year came, the summer before senior year, I had signed up to join the Marine Corps. So I knew right out of high school, as soon as I graduated, a month after, I was going into service. So for me, I was kind of like, I'm going to go to some parties and have some fun. At the end of the school year, shit's going to hit the fan. I'm going in the military. It's going to get real. So I started going to parties, and I started drinking. And I wasn't drinking to fit in. I was a very popular kid in high school. I had a lot of friends. So it wasn't to fit in. I think I was just doing it to get it out of my system. That's what I told myself. Let me have some fun, because at the end of the year, shit's going to get real. And I started drinking. And when I started to drink, the guard went down. I was like, well, what else is at this party? Let me see what else is going on here. So I started smoking some pot. No big deal. I was like, okay, I'm starting to smoke some pot. Well, what else is at this party? Oh, you got some LSD? Okay, I'll take a couple hits of that. Let me try that. So I started doing LSD. Started eating mushrooms. Oh, you got some PCP? What the hell does that do? I'll try some of that. Yeah. So I started doing that. Painkillers. Started doing pain pills. Now, thank God, when I grew up, cocaine and heroin was not around at the time, because I probably would have tried that too. But I tried everything else that was at the party, but it all stemmed with getting that first drink of alcohol in me, because then I was just, I had the fuck it mode, and it didn't matter. Anything's here, let's try it. When I got into the Marine Corps, the drugs stopped. It completely stopped. But after I graduated boot camp and I got stationed in North Carolina, the alcohol skyrocketed. As soon as we were done at 4 p.m., a bunch of us would leave the base and we go to the strip clubs, we go to the bars. And around the military base at that time, they would serve us underage, 18, 19, 20 years old. Their motto was, if you're old enough to take a bullet for the country, you're old enough to have a cold beer. So they would serve us regardless of our age. Their only rule was you couldn't stand there holding the beer in your hand in case the authorities walked in. So they would serve you. You could take a drink and sit it back down at the table. You just couldn't have it in your possession the whole time. But you could drink it, and they would serve you the whole night. And as being an 18, 19, 20-year-old Marine, you're seeing your sergeants at these same bars and strip clubs. They're older, in their 20s, early 30s. And they would drink with us, and they would just say, make sure your ass is up at 4 a.m. in the morning to go run. We don't care how messed up you get. Make sure you're ready to perform in the morning. So there was no deterrent as far as you guys shouldn't be drinking at that age. It was almost as if we were expected, like a badge of honor. You can train hard, you can drink, party hard, and you can still keep going. So that's what we did. My alcoholism pretty much stemmed from the military. Because I was drinking in high school and drugging, but when I got in the military, it was like our second job. When we got done, we went and drank. And we didn't just have a couple beers. We drank till we threw up, passed out, got in fights. You know, it was an extreme amount of drinking. It wasn't just have a couple beers. We drank till 2 o'clock in the morning, went back and slept for 2 hours and was up at 4 o'clock running 3 miles, throwing up on the run. And it was out of control. It really was.
Yeah.
And at the end of my enlistment, our unit got sent over to Somalia in '95. Now, it wasn't during wartime, it wasn't combat, but it was for training purposes. But I was there and I was able to see what combat had did to the country and to the people. And it did have an effect on me. It really did. Now, I was never in a combat scenario. I didn't have to fire my weapon, or nobody fired at us. But just seeing that and being there and seeing what war has done to the country and the people did have an effect on me as a 20-year-old young man. So when I came back, I had about 3 months left in my enlistment. I ended up finishing up there in North Carolina, Camp Lejeune, and then I came home. Now, when I came home, the first month was really kind of cool. It was like a decompression. I was like, I'm home. I don't have to get up at 4 o'clock in the morning. I don't have to go running. I don't have to wear a uniform. I don't have to shave and cut my hair. The second month was kind of like the oh shit factor. Man, I got to get a job. I got to get a car. I got to start paying some bills. I'm back at my mom's house. You know, some responsibilities started kicking in. The third month home, I found myself in a deep, deep depression. I stopped shaving. I stopped showering. I didn't want to leave the room. I was drinking heavy. I started smoking pot again because now I don't have drug tests. And when I could find pain pills, I was taking those again. Eating mushrooms again, LSD. Like I went right back to where I left off at 18 years old before I went into the service. And I'm sitting in my bedroom one day and I'm like, man, I'm a piece of shit. What am I doing? You know, I was just in the Marines. I felt like I was worth something. Like I had a purpose. And now I'm lost. And I didn't know what to do. And one day I went into my father's armoire and I pulled out his gun and I sat it on my lap. And I'm sitting here looking at it and I'm contemplating using it. And I called my girlfriend at the time. I said, hey, something's not right. I'm sitting here with a gun in my lap and I'm looking at it. And she's like, what? She came over, took the gun from me and put it in the armoire. And when my mom came home from work that night, I said, Mom, something's wrong. I didn't tell her I had my stepdad's gun in my lap. She would have freaked out and had me committed. But she said, we need to get you to the doctor. Something's not right. So we go to the doctor and they do a bunch of tests and they ended up diagnosing me with bipolar 1 disorder, manic depressant. Their first solution was to get me on medicine.
Mm-hmm.
So they started putting me on medicine. Now, I want to say that when you're prescribed any type of psychiatric medicine, you should definitely be honest with your doctors, because I was not honest with them. I didn't tell them I was drinking every day, smoking pot, taking painkillers, LSD, mushrooms. I didn't tell them any of that. So when I would go back for the 30 or 60-day checkup and I would say, this shit isn't working, I don't know what's going on, their solution was, well, maybe the milligrams are off, we'll give you more. Or maybe the medicine that we're giving you isn't the right fit, so we'll put you on some different other medicines. This scenario went on from the age of 20 all the way up until I went into rehab at age 44. On and off medicines, different milligrams, different concoctions, different cocktails, and they never could pinpoint why none of it ever worked. And the reason is because I was drinking and drugging. And it didn't matter what medicines they put me on, none of it was going to work because they're not designed to work with drugs and alcohol in your system.
Right.
So I want to make sure that, you know, it's very important if you're on these medicines to take it seriously. They're there for a reason and you shouldn't be drinking or drugging. And I didn't know that. And heaven forbid I admit to myself that, oh, it was because of the drugs and alcohol, because I didn't want to stop that. It definitely couldn't have been that. It had to have been this medicines. And because of this, I would lose jobs every 3, 6 months, 9 months. I think the longest job I had from getting out of the Marine Corps was 2.5 years. And then after that, it was cycled on and off months at a time. And from the age of 21 to about 40, I went through 46 jobs.
Dang.
Yeah, and that was all due to my bipolar and alcohol and drug addiction. I just couldn't keep a job, or I would get bored and quit, or just not go back and just tell my wife, "Oh, I'll get another job. It's no big deal." Nothing was a big deal, and nothing was a big deal to me because I didn't take anything seriously. I would just, as long as I had my drugs and my alcohol, that's the only thing I cared about. And at this time, I came home from the Marines. I met my wife, we moved in, had a house, had a car. Our house was working. We had our first child. Fast forward a couple of years, we had our second daughter, and I'm about 33 years old, and I lost another job. And my wife's like, "What's going on?" And I'm like, I just don't want to work. I just don't want to go to work. And she says, "Well, what do you want to do?" And I said, "I really miss sports. I really miss competing. I really want to go back to the gym and start working out." I said, "I think I want to do some mixed martial arts." I said, I miss one-on-one competing." And she says, "I'll tell you what, you can take the next year off and go training, see if you can get some fights, see if you can do something with it. But after that year, if nothing happens, you got to go back to work because you can't keep doing this." So I took the year off, went training. I got some fights. I ended up fighting on TV a couple of times in Atlantic City at Harris Casino, and got some sponsors and was doing pretty good. And I wasn't making that much money. It was all amateur league and local competitions, but I was making 1,500, sometimes 2,000 a fight. And I was fighting every 3 months because, believe it or not, when you have a fight, no matter what, you have a 30-day suspension after your fight. And that's just so you heal, and you have to go back into your doctor's checks and your physicals and all that stuff. If you get knocked out in the fight, you have a 90-day suspension. So luckily, I never got knocked out. So I would fight and then have a 30-day suspension, then have to wait 10 weeks to another fight. It got to my last fight, and 2 years had gone by. I was fighting for 2 years. And I do my last fight at Harris Casino. It was televised in front of like 3,000 people. It was a big deal. And I tore my rotator cuff in this fight. And I get back to the locker room, and I can't put my shirt on. My trainer helped me put my shirt on. And I come back out to all my friends and family, and my wife hands me a beer, and I grab it with my left hand. And usually I hold everything with my right hand. And she immediately says, "Well, why aren't you holding it with your right hand?" And I said, "I cannot move my arm." And she's like, "Are you serious right now?" I said, "Yeah, I can't lift it up." She said, "You're done." She said, "That's it. That's a wrap. You're not getting any younger, and we have to go to a doctor and see what's going on." So at 35, I go to the doctor, and I have to have major rotator cuff surgery. I tore it in 3 places.
Uh,
And that surgery led me on a 4.5 year addiction to painkillers that were prescribed to me by the doctors. And we're talking 10 years ago. I'm 46 now. So 10 years ago, I would just have to go to my doctor. I didn't have to go to the pain management clinic. I didn't have to go to the emergency room. I just went right to my doctor every 30 days, and he would just simply say, "How you feeling?" And I would say, "It's not working. I need something stronger." "Okay, well, the hydrocodones, they're mild. We'll put you on Percocets." So they started giving me Percocets. I go back after 30, 60 days, whatever the prescription was that he gave me, and I'd go back. "You know what? I like the Percocets, but they mess my stomach up. They give me cramps in my stomach. So can we give them something? Can we do something else?" "Sure. How about we give you Oxycontins?" And they seem to do really good. So they put me on Oxys. And like good every addict does, I wouldn't take one every 4 hours. I would take 2 and 3 or 4 every 4 hours.
Yep.
I'd be done my script 2 weeks early before the doctor could give them to me. I have to call my buddies and have them pick me up something off the street to last me till I went and saw my doctor. And I would just go back to my doctor, and it would just continue and continue. Now, this entire time, I'm taking 8 to 10, 20 milligram Oxycontins a day. I'm smoking about a quarter of weed, and I'm drinking 12 to 18 beers a day on top of, I'm doing all three. It got to a point where I got really scared. I remember sitting in my bed and thinking, holy shit, this is how people die. I'm gonna take this medicine and drink this beer, and I'm not gonna wake up one night. And I'm 37 years old. I don't want to die like this. I said, you know what? Screw it. If I'm gonna die, I'm gonna do it in my own hands. And I reached over on my nightstand and I opened up my bottle of oxys and I counted them. I had 18 of them in there. I took all 18 of them and I went out into the living room and I drank 12 beers, just slammed them. And I came back and laid in my bedroom and I laid on the bed and I remember saying, please, God, don't let me wake up because I don't want to live this life anymore. I just want the pain to go away. I don't know how to stop. And I woke up that next day. It was about 16 hours later. I woke up and I wake up and I'm like, holy shit, I didn't die. What the hell? And I go into the bathroom and my refill is sitting on the counter and I have 30 of them in there and I open it up and I pour all 30 of them down the toilet and I flush the toilet. And I look in the mirror and I tell myself, this is going to get bad. Don't forget how bad this gets because we're never doing this again. And for the next 10 days, I was probably the sickest I think I've ever been in my entire life. The insomnia, the sweats, the jitters, the racing thoughts, the going to the bathroom, the throwing up, the cold shivers, the fever, the whole deal. But every day I would look in that mirror and say, don't forget this feeling. We never want to do this again. And it's been 8 years since I've taken any pain medicine whatsoever. I was able to stop that on my own.
Amen.
But when I stopped taking the pain medicine, something was now missing because I'm used to taking drinking my 12 pack to 18 beers, smoking my weed and taking the pain medicine. So now I'm missing something and something's not right. So one day I decided, I'm going to go for a ride. I just got to clear my head and get out. So I go for a ride through this nice park down here we have here in Maryland. And I'm driving through and I'm crying and I'm like beating on the steering wheel. And I'm like, if there's something else out there, give me a sign because I don't know what the hell I'm doing. I'm an alcoholic. I'm an addict. I don't know my purpose in life. Like, if there's something out there, why am I suffering so bad? Because I don't believe it. If there's really something there, why would you let me suffer like this? And I'm driving around the bend and I get to this tree where my senior year in high school, my best friend lost control of his car and hit the tree and unfortunately lost his life at the age of 18. And at this tree, his parents set up a little vigil. They have a picture of him hanging on the tree. There's a book there still from 1996. And you can put flowers on this tree. So I get out and I go up to the tree and I'm like, I got my hand on the tree and I'm like, Bill, I'm like, man, I'm lost, brother. I was like, I need some guidance. I don't know why I'm here. I don't know my purpose. If there's something else out there besides me, please, please just give me a sign. I just need to know that there's something else out there because I have no faith. I'm lost. I don't know why I'm here. And I leave the park. And as I'm leaving, I'm crying pretty good. I can't really drive. So I pull over to park. As I pull over to park, I pull over on the wrong side of the road. So I'm facing oncoming traffic and I park. And I'm crying. About 10 minutes goes by and this car pulls up and we're hood to hood. And this man gets out. He opens his back door and he's getting his dog. He's about to go walk his dog over by the water. And I'm looking at this guy and I'm like, man, he looks so familiar. I can't place it. Then all of a sudden it dawns on me. It was my best friend who died December 27th, 1996. It was his father.
Oh, wow.
This is March 16th, 2017, 21 years later. I haven't seen this man since my best friend's funeral in 1996. And I get out of the truck and I go, Mr. Bill. And he looks at me. He's like, Timmy, is that you? And I said, yeah. He said, what are you doing? And I just fall to the curb and I'm crying. I'm like, I'm an addict. I'm an alcoholic. I don't know why I'm here. And I just don't know what I'm doing. And he walks over to me and he puts his hand on my shoulder. And he says, Timmy, I'm not supposed to be here this morning. I'm supposed to be in South Carolina at a family reunion. My wife came to me in a dream last night. and told me to come here this morning at 10 a.m. to walk the dog. I believe I was sent here to see you. And I said, Mr. Bill, I just stopped at Billy's tree and asked him to give me something, that I wasn't alone, that something else was out there. And he said, Tim, I think I was here to see you. And we talked for about 10, 15 minutes. And I got this, man, everything is going to be okay. And I get in my truck and I start driving home. And that feeling lasted about 10 minutes. And then my addictive personality stepped in and said, guess what, buddy? You're being protected. Nothing is going to happen to you. So you don't have to stop drinking. You'll be okay. Everything's going to be fine. And for the next 4 years, I drank the most alcohol I have ever drank in my entire life. The beers weren't doing it for me anymore. So I switched to Fireball whiskey. And I started drinking whiskey every single day. And again, my mental illness and addictive personality stepped in and told me, don't buy the big bottle of whiskey, because then I would actually consciously know how much I was drinking. So my idea was to buy the little miniatures, because, you can hide them all over the house. You can drink them and throw them out and not really have any kind of track on how much you were drinking. Well, I would get up in the morning, I'd go to the liquor store and I'd buy a sleeve of Fireball, which is 10 bottles still in a pack. And I would drink all 10 of them by 1 o'clock in the afternoon. I'd get off work at 3:30. I'd go to the liquor store and I'd buy 10 more. I'd drink all 10 of them by 8:30 at night. And then I'd find myself back at the liquor store getting another 5 to 10. The last year of my drinking, I was drinking 25 to 30 miniatures of Fireball every single day. And one day I was like, I wonder how much alcohol is in these miniatures. So I poured it out. One miniature is 2.5 shots. So that last year I was drinking upwards of 70 to 80 shots of Fireball whiskey every single day.
Jeez, man.
It got to the point where I was coming home from the liquor store and I just got a brand new truck, 2 months old, coming home from the liquor store, and I hit something. And I still to this day do not know what I hit. I don't know if it was a parked car, a sign, a curb. I don't know what the hell I hit. But I remember walking in the house and telling my wife, I'm going to bed. I just hit something. I'm not dealing with it tonight. I'll deal with it tomorrow. And I go to sleep. And I wake up the next morning like every good alcoholic. Hey, good morning. I'm going to go to the store and get some milk, water, and bread. Do we need anything else? And she's like, how are you going to do that? I was like, in my new truck in the driveway. She's like, Tim, go look at your truck. So I go outside and my right passenger mirror is gone. It's not even on the truck anymore. It's completely gone. And my right front passenger tire is hanging off the rim, and the rim's all bent up underneath the truck. And I'm sitting here looking at it. I'm like, what in the hell happened last night? And she pops her head out the front door and she says, you have no memory of what you did last night, do you? And I said, no, I don't. She said, Tim, you could have killed yourself. You could have killed somebody else. You can't stay here anymore. You got to pack your bags and leave. I don't want you around the kids anymore. You got to go figure this out. So I packed my bags. I called AAA. They came over, put a new tire on me. And I called my buddy. I said, hey, I just got kicked out. Is there any way I can come to your house for a couple of days? Because, give it a couple of days. Everything will blow over. My wife will let me come back in. And I call my buddy and I go over his house. I get there and he's like, well, you just got kicked out. You don't have to go home. We might as well go to the bar, man. And I'm like, you know what? That's a great idea, because now I have a reason to drink. My wife just kicked me out. So we go to the bar about 2-3 hours. I get shit-faced hammered. As I'm leaving the bar, less than 16 hours later, I rear end somebody at a red light. I get out of my truck and I'm looking at the guy's truck. He had a tow hitch on the back of his truck, so his truck was actually not damaged whatsoever. But now the whole front of my bumper's all V'd in. And I look at him, I'm like, are you okay, man? He's like, yeah, I'm fine. I said, your truck's okay. You're okay. I slapped him on his back. I said, I'm out of here. And I jumped in my truck and I took off. The cops came. I was going to jail for DUI, and my truck was getting towed. I get back to my buddy's house. I'm like, I'm like, man, I can't stay here. I got to go think some shit out. I just can't stay here. So I grab my stuff, leave his house, stop at the liquor store, get 10 more miniatures. And I go and I sit at a parking ride where, people park their car for the day and they jump a train and go to work, whatever. And I sit there and I grab my phone and I turn it off. I put my radio on and I sit there for 2 days, 48 hours with my phone completely off, just listening to sad ass music, doing the whole, why am I alive? I'm a piece of shit. My girls are better off without me as a father. My wife's better off without me as a husband. My mom is better off without me as a son. I don't deserve to live. I've screwed up everything in my life. And 2 days goes by. And on the second day, March 5th, 2021, at 7 after 10, I turn my phone on after having it off for 2 days. 2 minutes after I turn my phone on, the phone rings. And I look down and I don't recognize the phone number. It says Westchester, Pennsylvania. I'm like, who the hell is this? So I pick it up. It was my childhood friend, Brandon Novak. And he's like, Lodgen, what the fuck are you doing? And I'm like, I'm cold, I'm hungry, I'm drunk, and I'm tired. And he says, good, motherfucker, that's what you need. I just got off the phone with your wife. I have a plane ticket set for you this evening at 8:30. I got you into Banyan Treatment Centers down in West Palm Beach, Florida. I want you to get on that plane and go down and get treatment. He said, just promise me one thing. You call me when you pass security, because I want to make sure your ass is getting on that plane. You're not going to catch a cab and leave the airport. And I'm like, yeah, okay, I'll go. I'm just kind of like agreeing with him so I can hang up the phone. I hang up the phone and now I'm like, man, I'm going to rehab? Like, how long? 30, 60, 90 days? Like, what the hell did I just get myself into? How did my life get this bad? My wife calls about 10 minutes. Hey, I just got off the phone with Brandon. Can you please come home, pack your bags, take a shower, take a nap? I had about 3 to 4 hours before the plane left and try to eat something. I'm like, yeah, okay. So I go home, I pack my bags, take a shower. I couldn't sleep and I couldn't eat. I've been drinking for 48 hours. Now my anxiety's kicked in, my panic's kicked in. I got racing thoughts because now I'm thinking about, I got to go to Florida for rehab. How long am I going for? I can't believe my life is just messed up that I got to go to rehab. I'm having all this anxiety. And I'm sitting on the edge of my bed. I'm like, man, I can't believe this. I really can't believe my life has gotten this bad. And my addiction steps in and my mental illness. And it tries to take me one more time. It says, come with me and take my hand. And it takes me to the basement of my home. And I throw a rope around my neck. And I stand up on a bucket in the basement of my house. And it tells me to end the pain. Just do it, end the pain. And I go to the basement and I put a rope around my neck and I stand on the bucket. And about a minute goes by and my wife realizes I'm not in the bedroom. And she comes down the steps in the basement of her home. And she sees me in the corner of the basement, standing on a bucket with a rope around my neck, hysterically crying. And she's like, what are you doing? I said, I can't do it. I just want the pain to stop. I can't do this anymore. And she looks at me and she says, Tim, do you know what this will do to your little girls? Please get down and get on that plane. Please get down. Everything is going to be okay. Just get on that plane. Mm. And I take the rope around my neck and I fall to the floor and I cry for about 5 minutes. And I go upstairs and I call my buddy. I'm like, hey man, I'm getting on that plane. I gotta go. If I don't go tonight, this disease is going to kill me, and I don't want that to happen. And all he says is, I'm proud of you. I love you. Pass me when you pass security. So I get to the airport. My mom drives me. Get to the airport. I pass security, and I call him. I say, hey buddy, I got 30 minutes till the plane leaves. And I just want to let you know I'm past security and I'm getting on that plane. And he says, I'm proud of you. I love you. You're about to get back everything that you've lost times 10. And he hangs up the phone. As I go to sit down at this seat, waiting for them to board my plane. Hold on one second. As I go to sit down at this seat, I sit down, and this overwhelming feeling of hope comes over my entire body. It was a warm blanket feeling that I have never felt in my entire life. At the exact moment, all my worry left my body, my panic, my anxiety, my fear. And I hear this voice that I've never heard in my entire life. It was a warm, common woman's voice, and it says, everything is going to be okay. I truly believe I had a spiritual awakening at that airport, sitting in that seat. I can't explain it, but I believe that compulsion for addiction was lifted from me that day. I got to rehab and I went 100 miles an hour. I didn't miss any meetings. I did all the journaling that they asked me to do, all the homework that they asked me to do. I shared, I volunteered. I went to extra meetings for veterans and first responders. I started working out with a personal trainer Monday, Wednesdays, and Fridays. I changed my diet. I started reading. I did everything that they asked me to do. Because if I was going to do this, I was going to do it 100% mentally, spiritually, and physically. I didn't want to half-ass this because I knew my life depended on it now. This is life and death for me, so I wanted to take it that seriously. Rehab was the best thing that happened to me in my entire life. And I'm not saying that having my children or getting married wasn't the best thing, but this saved my life. And what it did for me is it made me find out who I really was. The strength that I actually had inside that I thought was lost. The gratitude that I had forgotten, that I didn't care about anybody. I didn't care about anything. I just cared about my drug and my drink. I finally realized how precious this life is that we are given on a daily basis, that all of it could have went away. And my kids would have remembered me as an alcoholic and drug addict. That's how I would have died. I now have this opportunity to give back and to share my story with those who think that nobody could possibly know their pain. Nobody could understand the shame and guilt that they have inside, when that is so far from the truth. There are so many of us out there that know exactly how they feel. You know, for 27 years, I used to say, why is this happening to me? And when I got sober and started living a life of recovery, I finally realized that it wasn't happening to me. It happened for me. It happened for me to realize who I could become and what my purpose truly was in life. I truly believe now my purpose is to give back and to share my story with as many people as possible so that they know that they're not alone. There's recovery out there and they can live the life that they've always wanted to live. I gave up hope and it almost took my life. I want people to know that we can recover and we can become the people that we've always wanted to be. And I'm truly grateful to be alive. I'm truly grateful to have my kids, my wife. I'm so grateful to wake up each and every morning. And I tell myself when I wake up, you know, I list 5 things that I'm grateful for every morning. I start my day with a positive affirmation every single day. My perspective of life has completely changed on everything. I used to be that guy, man, I got to go to work. I got to pay the bills. I got to go to the gym. I got to do that. And now I get to get up and go to work. I get to go to the gym. I get to pay my bills. I get to have dinner with my family. You know, my life has changed more than my friend told me it would. It hasn't been 10 times fold. I've gotten back 100 times. and it keeps on giving back. Talking to you right now tonight is my 58th podcast interview that I've done in a year.
Oh,
I have 7 more scheduled this month. I have 2 tomorrow. I was able to go to North Carolina 3 weeks ago and speak at an overdose awareness convention. I go to California at the end of this month, the 22nd to the 25th, to speak in front of 300 veterans and first responders about mental illness and addiction. October, I'm going to a mental health summit in Las Vegas to speak. And in November, I get to go to Canada to speak about mental health and addiction awareness. I get to spread the message of hope when, I didn't have one. I didn't know that existed. Now I know it is, and it does. And I just want to give it back to as many people as possible.
and Tim, number one, you made this a very easy podcast for me. I haven't had to do anything. Sitting back and listening to your story, there were so many parallels. It's crazy. The gun, the noose, um, how many times I've almost killed myself driving. We all tell ourselves when we get messed up, I'm a better driver than anybody else, that's drinking. How many times have you said that?
Almost every time I was in my truck.
Exactly. I mean, I don't know how I kept from going into this ditch, but it was a deep ditch. I probably would have died that night. I mean, the chances were, I don't know, but it was so close, and to keep from doing that. But I could tell you all these stories, but this is your time. And I want to say that I'm very proud of you, and I'm very, very thankful that you chose to come on my show, because it's a reminder to me to keep moving forward and to not go back into that same old, same old. And there's someone out there that's gone through the same thing, and they need to know there's hope. And if we can kind of go back to the beginning when you talked about your childhood and how your father wasn't there most of the time. I was that dad, but I was still at home. I just was an absent father living in the same home with my kids. And then when my first wife and I finally split up and then got the divorce, I was fortunate that I went through a sober time, and so I ended up my boys living with me, and I'm gonna try not to choke up. But
That's how real it is, brother.
But I went right back to the same old partying, and I'm just gonna tell all you fathers out there, whether you're at home or you're living in another home, be a father. You don't get that time back, and you don't know what you do to your kids. My father was always in the home, but he was an absentee father living in the same household. He cared more about his work than he cared about his family. And it's not an excuse for me, but that's where I learned it from. It was all about me and what I wanted to do, not about my kids. It's very, very important. You spend as much time as you can. You take them fishing, you take them to the mall, whatever they want to do. I mean, even if you get stuck going to an NSYNC concert, I don't know who the popular groups are nowadays, but even if you hate it, take your kids to go do what it is they want to do. They will remember that. It will be healthy for them. It will teach them what it's like to be a parent, and that will carry on to when they have kids. I really didn't become a true father, I think, until my grandkids came around. And that sucks, man.
Man, I, I am, that is crazy because I have a 3-year-old, I have a 4-year-old grandson now and a 3-month-old grandson. And I hear all the time, oh yeah, I got sober when I had my kids. And I'm looking back exactly what you said. You know, I have 3 girls, 23, 14, and 11. Oh, 15 and 11. Damn, she just had a birthday. And I was at home, but I was drinking all the time. And thank God I was never physically abusive, but I was a verbal asshole. I said the nastiest things to the
Me
people
too.
that I love the most.
Yep.
And my daughter, I got home from rehab, and my oldest daughter still lived upstairs at the time. Her and my grandson still lived here. And I come home after 32 days, and I'm like, pretty much, yeah, I got 32 days. You know, let me see my kids. And my middle and my youngest were so excited to see me. My oldest daughter would walk in the house and walk right up the steps. She wouldn't even look at me. She wouldn't even say nothing to me.
Yeah.
And I'm looking at my wife. I'm like, what the hell is going on? I just did rehab. She's like, Tim, you drank for 27 years. Your daughter's 22. She's seen the best and the worst of her father. Just give her some time.
Mm-hmm.
4 months goes by, 5, 6, 7 months goes by. Finally, on my 9th month anniversary, I had 9 months to the day, I get a text message from my daughter. And she had moved out by then. And she says, Dad, I just want you to know how proud I am of you. Thank you for giving me the time to heal, because I know you were healing too. And I haven't told you in a long time, but I love you and I'm proud of you. And I'm so thankful to have my dad back. And I hung up that phone and I cried for like 15 minutes. And I called my wife. I said, listen to what your daughter just told me. And she was crying. She said, I got to tell you, I never thought that day would come. She said, I was hoping and wishing for it. She said, I'm so glad that she did that. And since that day, me and my oldest daughter talk twice a week. Now, thank God she only lives like 15 minutes away, but she'll send me funny TikToks or send me messages. Or I'm really big on Halloween and Christmas, and she send me decorations to get by or do stuff like that. And we
Right.
have a relationship now. And last month she texted me. She said, Dad, I never told you this, but when I was a little girl and I would see other girls with their dad and see their relationship, she said I would cry sometimes at night to sleep because we never had that relationship. I'm so thankful that you are sober and you're doing what you're doing, because now you can be the grandfather to my boys that I've always wanted. That right there has given me more motivation than I think anything else. Is I don't want them little boys to see their grandfather ever drink and drug. I want to show them that no matter how bad your life gets, no matter how many times you get knocked down, you can stand up, you can be something that you've always wanted to be. And I want to be their role model. I wasn't that for my girls, and that hurts, but I accept it because I think that happened so I can now take this so seriously with my grandsons, that I have a purpose now, that I need to show them that it's okay to fall down. It's okay to cry. It's okay to have emotions, but we're strong. We can overcome anything if we put our mind to it, and everything will be okay.
Yeah. I'm thankful that my boys, they've been pretty forgiving, and I have a pretty good relationship with them. And I mean, my daughter has forgiven me, but I can tell the scars. I can tell the pain that's there. Because even though she'll talk to me from time to time, but I can tell she's not as enthusiastic to talk to dad. And I don't blame her. It's my fault.
Right.
I have no one else to blame. And I mean, even though I've got some years under my belt, I can imagine, still really have a hard time forgiving my father for the things he did to me and the time he didn't spend with me. And I'm telling you, if you're listening to this, if you haven't got to that point yet, don't be a hard head and learn things the hard way, because you will definitely regret it. But there's help out there. There's, I mean, pick up your phone, get on your internet, Google. You can find somewhere close by to get some help. Talk to someone. Find sober friends. Is I say I love my friends, all of them, but there's some that I have to love from a distance.
Yes.
Because I know once I start hanging around with them, and they're partying, I'm going to start partying. And I just can't do it, And do you have a website?
No, my main thing is Instagram. And that's where I post all of my recovery journey, all my podcasts, all my speaking events. Um, I'm a partner now with a 501c3 nonprofit organization for mental health and addiction,
Mm-hmm.
and that's rockstartestimony.com. Our website just came up, and my stories on there. And we share our stories. We go to different states and talk. We try to help people get into rehabs or talk to any psychiatrists or doctors that they need to talk to. There's a 1-800 number on the website, and that's rockstar.com, rockstartestimony.com. And then I'm also a part of Empower to Empower, and that is based out of Canada. And that's empower2empower.com. And we do the same thing for mental health and addiction advocacy. I've been approached by other different organizations and stuff to be a part of their websites, but these two, when you it's kind of like when you find your home group for your meetings. If you do go to meetings, I had to dabble around and find the one that fit me. I fit with these two companies, and we have the same goal and passion in life, and that's to help as many people as possible. And the one question that we ask people is if we could stop addiction before it started. Like, could we stop addiction before it started? Because a lot of addiction, and if not all, comes from trauma. A lot of it comes from child trauma. And how could we help more teenagers before they actually start getting into drugs or alcohol? Because a lot of the times, I know, including me, when I first started drinking, it was just to have fun. But then as I started drinking and doing drugs, I would think about my dad leaving and being like, well, you know what? I'll just do them because, my own father didn't love me. Who else is going to love me? Why? I didn't care. I just didn't care. And I'm sure a lot of young adolescents go through a lot of things at home that they're ashamed of, they're embarrassed of, and they need to know that it's okay. It's okay to ask for help. It's okay to admit that something is going on and reach out, reach out for help. Like you said, we have the internet now. There's so many resources out there for them just to type in and get the information that they need. Where for us in 70s, 80s, and 90s, there was nothing. I mean, we grew up where your parents kicked you out at 8 o'clock in the morning and said, come back at dark when the dinner's on, and we were out doing whatever the hell we were doing. They had no idea where we were. And there was no phone calls. There was no calling to say, hey, we're going to come back at this time. Just be, my dad would, or my mom would just tell me, when the street lights come on, that's when you come home. But get out of the house, go play with your friends. I was gone all goddamn day, So the resources are there now. It's a lot. I think it's a lot easier to get the help that we can get, from when we did, and take advantage of it. Take advantage of it. Absolutely.
Yeah. If you're watching this and you're a regular on my channel, you know that I'm an open book. And I've told this story a million times. I mean, I was molested when I was a little kid, and I had blocked it out for years, and I think it was there, and that was part of why I was drinking. I mean, that's just my guess. I don't know, but it finally kind of came to surface. Gosh, I don't remember how long ago it was. It was more than 10 years ago, and I had a breakdown. Everything came rushing back, and ended up in a institution for a couple weeks, and finally got diagnosed and all that kind of stuff. And you know, I just stress, please get help somewhere, from somewhere, just somewhere, get you some help. I need to ask you again, what was that? Rockstartestimonies.com?
Yeah, rockstartestimony.com. Yes.
Testimony.com. Okay.
Yes. Yeah.
Because I want to put those links in the description so people can just click on it and go to it.
So, and my Instagram is it's at Lodgen.
Okay.
I don't know if you're on Instagram, but my page is blown up over this past year. When I first got home from rehab, I had like 300 followers, and it was all friends and family and people from the Marines. And once I started doing podcasts and sharing my story and getting feedback from people, I just hit 111,000 followers yesterday.
Wow, that's crazy, man.
It's insane. I just told my wife, yesterday I opened up my messages and I had 3 messages from 3 different people. One was from the Bahamas, one was from California, one was from Switzerland. They all listened to 3 different podcasts that I had been on, and they told me how much it helped them for what they were going through. That not to give up hope, to keep fighting. The one gentleman had relapsed 2 days ago, and he said, I got 2 days sober again, but I'm lost. I don't know if I can do this. I sent them a nice long message, and my page is open. And I told him, here's my phone number. If you want to call me, if you think you're going to pick up, you call me. If you want to do a Zoom call, let's do a Zoom call, because he lives in Bahamas.
Mm-hmm.
Let's call. Let's talk face to face. I'll get you through whatever you're going through. The fact that we can do these podcasts and reach people all over the world is absolutely amazing.
Yes.
The first podcast I did was like 3 months out of rehab. And I was like, you know what? I'm just going to share my story. And I just messaged the podcast. And they got back and said, yeah, man, come on and share your story. And I did it. And it was like 2 weeks goes by before it airs, or I think it might have been 3 weeks. And it airs. And I'm sitting at this gentleman's house getting ready to pick up a table to go take it to my buddy's rehab house.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm sitting waiting for him to open the garage so I can load it my pickup truck. And the phone rings. And the guy's like, hey, is this Tim? And I'm like, yeah, this is Tim. Who's this? And he said, hey, this is Tony. And I'm like, man, I'm sorry, buddy. I don't know any Tonys. And he said, from the Marine Corps, I served with you in 1995. This is 2021. And I'm like, holy shit. I was like, how'd you get my phone number? He's like, off of Facebook. I'm like, well, what's going on, man? How you doing? He's like, I'm not doing good at all. He said, I've been addicted to painkillers for 18 years. He said, but I had to call you because I listened to your podcast 4 days ago. And I wanted to tell you I have 4 days clean, the first time in 18 years. I needed you to know that your story gave me hope and strength, and I think I can do this. That was 8.5 months ago. He has 8.5 months sober off of opioids.
Wow.
When I hung up that phone, I teared up for a little bit, and I said, man, there's something to these podcasts. If I can reach him, he lived in Ohio, I'm in Maryland. If I can reach somebody in Ohio, how many more people could I reach? And that's how the whole podcasting started. And I've done Switzerland, United Kingdom, Australia, all over United States, Canada, London. Like it's been crazy, all these messages. So if one person, me, if I could share my story and reach as many people, how many more people can we reach if more people shared their story?
Exactly. And I'm telling you, if you can get the help, get the help. If you can come out and tell your story, come out and tell your story. You can help someone else. And you know, the only reason why I mentioned the things that happened to me is because look how many people it happens to.
Yep.
And this is just proof between me and you how close and similar our situations were and the things that we did, and how many people can tell the same story as what you just told or what I've told in the past.
Yeah.
It's sad, and you know, the way things are, we're kind of set up to fail. You know, everything's kind of against us. You know, especially now, look at the economy the way it is. How many people are so depressed about that they're going to go out and get wasted for, or look at the temptations that are out there, and you know, cheating on your spouse, or I mean, there's so many things out there to not only redirect us from reality, but to set us off on whatever addiction it may be. And it could be drugs, it could be alcohol, it could be sex, you know, porn, it could be just about anything.
All right.
Whatever it is, it can be devastating not only to you, but the people around you. So that's why I say get the help. Do it now. So, Tim, you're on Facebook and you're on Instagram.
Yes.
Do you have any other social media?
Not of now, but I've been asked to come up with a brand name and do a website. On several people have asked me to do that, and the 501c3 nonprofit that I'm working with, Rockstar, they've been really pushing me. You need to come up with a brand and get a website, and so that's coming. I didn't want to say anything about it because I hate saying I'm going to do something and not do it. So I want to do it first, and like here it is. But I, I'm working on that, and I've been journaling a lot. I've been approached to put my story on paper, and I think I'm going to do it. I think I'm going to do it. I got a lot to say. You know, I don't mention a lot of it in these podcasts. It's a long 27 years, a long road. I got a lot of stories and a lot of things that I went through. So, and I think it could just help people. And that's helping somebody through their toughest times. It's something that money can't buy, man. It's a feeling that it just feels right in here. It's not an ego thing. It's not a monetary thing. It finally makes me feel like I'm doing something right with my life. And that's an amazing feeling.
You know that you've matured when those stories that used to be a badge of honor have now turned into shame.
Yeah, for sure.
And,
You know, and they always tell you, you know, let your mess be your message.
and you know, you mentioned something a while ago about how you get up and you find 5 things to say you're grateful for and your affirmations, which is something I've mentioned in the past. Attitude, your gratitude changes your attitude. I'm telling you that right now. Don't ever forget that.
It absolutely does. And I will tell you that, you know, when I first got to rehab and they said all that stuff, I'm like, get the hell out of here. That doesn't work. You know, I was very skeptical of all that stuff, but it works. It actually works. Changing your attitude, being grateful, changing your perspective, the outlook on things, it really does work.
Yes, it does. Well, Tim, unfortunately, we've come to the end of the show. Thank you so much for spending your time with me today. It really means a lot. I'm gonna lie, you made me tear up a little bit. And I hope your story motivates someone out there to get that help and to make those changes. So
I appreciate you having me on. Thank you for having a podcast for people like me to share, to reach people. So what you do is extremely, extremely important. Thank you so much for having me. It was an honor to be on it and speaking with you.
Believe me, the pleasure is all mine, man. And thank you for those kind words. And I also want to thank all of you out there. If you happen by this channel and this is your first time, thank you for stopping by, and I hope you'll come back. Please subscribe and share this out. Someone out there you know may need this help right now. And to all of you that are regular to my channel, thank you for that support. I've gotten some messages lately from my regulars, and it's really kind of lit a fire under my butt to try harder and to keep going on, you know. So thank you all for that. It's because of you that I get to do this, and I get to talk to people like Tim. And so until the next time, everyone, please take care. Be kind to one another. And you know what? Be kind to yourself. And God bless. Peace.
We hope you enjoyed this episode of Listen to the Vibes. You can catch us on Buzzsprout or wherever you listen to your favourite podcasts. And on YouTube. Follow us on Facebook at The Vibes Broadcast Network